What's up guys, I'm Lucas and welcome to Terracotta Aquarium. So today I wanted to do a little bit of a studio tour. I want to show you guys some of the tanks and how they're doing, and also share with you guys some projects like this tank here that I've been working on that I haven't shown on the channel yet. So yeah, some updates, some sneak peeks, and some plans for the future. Let's get started. So I think first I just want to go through kind of all of the tanks, and we'll do them kind of in order, out of order. Some you haven't seen yet, some you have seen. This one you haven't seen yet. And this tank at this point has been going for close to 2 months, and I'm still working on the video. I've just been trying to figure out what I want to do for the stem plants. I've kind of replanted once with this Rotala Walichi that's in here now. It used to be umbrella hairgrass that didn't do so well. But at this point, I'm kind of just waiting for the Rotala to grow in a little bit more before I share the video with you guys. But it's got a group of, I think, 16 red cherry shrimp in here right now. And it's right on my desk. So while I do editing or play video games, watch videos, when I'm doing whatever at my desk, I can just look right over at it. And it brings me a lot of joy. It's been super fun to have right here. I just really want the stem plants to grow in a little bit more before I share the final video. But it's really nice because it's got this awesome like F-zone light here that is just, it's super powerful, and it's making the red root floaters in the top just stay like super red. So it's been really fun. I hope that this is going to be like a red root floater generator for me, in addition to a cherry shrimp generator. And it's really well bedded in, like the shrimp are doing super well. So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, just a little sneak peek for you guys. It's Sirius stone in here, and then some Anubias, and then dwarf hairgrass, which I'm hoping will carpet. But it's a little bit of an experiment because I want to see how it does with the Seachem fluorite in here as well. So we're kind of just waiting at this point for this one to see how the stems do. But really love this tank. I can't wait to share the full video with you guys, but it's probably still going to be another month before I release like a full build on this one. Okay, so next up we have this tank here, the Rainbow Riverbed. And a lot of you guys have seen this tank. The video on this tank here did super well, which I'm really happy about because I put a ton of time and love and energy and money into this tank. But it is just going from strength to strength to strength at this point. The plants are doing really well. The dwarf sag and Sagittaria subulata have started to carpet really well. You can see it kind of in the center here. And it is going to start filling out all of this front area, which is going to be really fun to see. And the Vallisneria is actually even creeping kind of into the foreground, which I'm kind of going to let it go unless it gets too crazy. But all of the plants, honestly, are doing really well. The only problem in the plant department is that we are getting a decent amount of hair algae on the moss. And I think one problem that I have is, well, one problem that I created when I set up this tank was that I didn't attach the moss super well, to be honest. I really should have used string rather than glue, or at least got like a gel form glue when I was setting this up, because I used like a thin like liquid super glue to attach the moss to everything. So in some places it's doing pretty well, but in others it's not. So I've been kind of moving it around, trying to wedge it into natural gaps a little bit more, but it is just making like a ton of hair algae. So I might get some Amana shrimp soon. That was suggested to me in the comments of the video. So if that was you, thank you for suggesting that. That's really the only problem with this tank, is that little bit of hair algae. So once a week, once every other week, I'm coming in and removing a lot of it. But I absolutely love this tank, honestly. It's really fun to watch and just like, sit back, watch all the fish and everything in here, because there's so many fish. They're all doing so well. The rainbow fish especially, like they really know me at this point, and they're always coming and looking at me whenever I'm sitting and watching the tank. And they've grown pretty significantly actually since I added them. And shout out to Footage Missing, who commented on the on this video. I asked what the name of the sort of red rainbow fish is, and Footage Missing said that it is a crimson spotted rainbow. So I looked into that, seems to be correct. So thank you so much for that, because I could not for the life of me remember what type of rainbow it was. One of my friends who watched the video said, I don't know what that rainbow fish is, but you can name him Walter. So that's Walter, the red spotted, crimson spotted rainbow fish. And I haven't named any of the other rainbow fish at this point yet. So if you're seeing them and you have any ideas of what we should name them, let me know in the comments what you think. And also, if you have any idea which of these are male, which of these are female, let me know as well. I have some idea, but it is still kind of hard for me to tell. I've been looking, at the top fins a little bit to see if they overlap, but it's still a little bit hard to tell with some of them. So if you're more experienced than me and you can tell by looking at these fish, whether they're male or female, let me know, because that'd be super helpful. There hasn't really been any aggression or anything in the group, which is really nice. They're all pretty chill. There is like one tank boss, this guy right here, the Bosemani, who he will chase people around a little bit and sort of show that he's the dominant one, but they all kind of let him do that. So there's not any major like infighting or anything that's happening. And the honey gourami fry, which you might be able to see, they're kind of in the central piece of moss here at the moment, two of them at least. They're doing really well. They're growing up quickly. I'm happy that they're in here. It's kind of sad because I'll show you when we get to the nature aquarium, but unfortunately one of the gouramis in there passed away, Marmalade, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, but we will get there when we talk about the nature aquarium. But since she passed away, it's nice to have some of her children in here to, continue on the spirit of Marmalade. But the cories are doing well. They've kind of stopped laying eggs on the front of the glass because the rainbow fish are eating them so much. So I think most of their spawning is happening in the back of the tank, which is good because there's a higher chance that the babies will survive. So I think there's a pretty high chance that we're going to see some smaller cories before we know it. And that's also kind of true with the Danios. I've noticed more and more they're spending a lot of time in the kind of back Vallisneria and Hygrophila angustifolia back there doing, I think, spawning behavior. Since I added all of the females to balance out that male-female ratio, I think that's been really, really good for their group. But overall, super happy with this tank. It is an absolute joy to have, and I spend at least a few minutes every day just sitting and watching it, and it's one of the calmest parts of my days. So I'm really, really thankful for this tank. One other thing that I almost forgot to mention is that I am getting some sweet art put up in the studio, just this piece so far, but my wife did this the other day and I loved it, and I asked her if I could put it up here. She said yes, and I think it really suits the studio. I'm hoping to get a lot more on all of these kind of curtains that I have up behind. So if you think that's a good idea, if you think this art looks good, let me know in the comments. So next up, we have another new tank to show off here. So you might recognize this cube here as the minimalist riverbed. That's what was in here before in this spot. And I wasn't super happy with that tank overall, so I decided to redo it. And I wanted to try something I haven't done before, which is a no filter setup. So it's still kind of in the cycling process at the moment, but I essentially made this sort of giant nurse log type thing that's covered in Hydrocotyle tripartita and Java moss. And quick side note, I have been absolutely loving Hydrocotyle tripartita recently. It just grows so quickly and just covers everything, and you can kind of use it for everything. Like, it can be a floating plant, it can be an epiphyte, and I'm even going to try it as a carpet, but that's in another tank that I'll show you in a couple minutes here. But for this tank, I basically just made it like a stem jungle. It's full of Rotala, baby tears, Ludwigia, and Pagostemon stellatus. Then it's got this nice foreground of crypts. And I'm trying a little bit of dwarf hairgrass and a little bit of Liliopsis, I think it's Nova Zealandia in here, but those plants have not been doing super well. I think that I need to upgrade this light. I think it's a little bit too small, but I do have a light that I'm going to try out, but I'm going to wait until the video for this tank to show that off. But I'm really pleased with the progress so far. The stems have been growing like crazy, and I think that is part of the no filter aspect of it. Is stem plants especially are going to grow super well because there's no competition with the filter for any of the ammonia. Like, they're going to do all the filtration. So because of that, they're going to grow super well. But it is still in the cycling process. I'm getting a little bit of nitrite right now. So I'm going to give it probably another week, and then I think this is going to be a betta fish aquarium because I've never had a betta fish before. And yeah, I think it'd be perfect. And betta fish are really well suited to no filter setups as well because they don't really need any water movement. You know, they have the labyrinth organ, so they'll just come and breathe at the surface. They don't need highly oxygenated water. But I mean, this water is still going to be super highly oxygenated, even without flow, just because of the plants. There's so many in here, and they're going to be adding oxygen to the water. But I'm really excited about this. I think this will probably be the next like longer build video that I release, so you guys can look forward to this one. And yeah, if you want to see that video, and if you're liking this one, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me some comments, that kind of thing. But anyway, let's move on to another tank. So this is the Epiphyte only aquarium that I just finished the in-depth tutorial series on. And I really enjoyed doing that series. It was really fun to break down the aquarium in like a really long form, step-by-step, longer tutorial. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that one. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to the playlist. But it's doing really well. Since the end of that tutorial, I have switched back to the Oase filter because the newer filter that I got that was for 20 to 40 gallons was just far too high of flow for the Rasporas. And I noticed that they were just getting kind of closer and closer to the filter. It seemed like they were kind of trying to weakly swim away. So I went back to this filter. I'm hoping that it's not going to fail me again. I have had troubles with the Oase hang on the back filters. So I'm going to find a replacement for it at some point in the future, but I haven't done that yet. But for now, it's working, so no problem. But the pandacories that I added it seems like they've just been loving it in here. And this tank really was designed with them in mind, with just the sand substrate and the epiphyte plants. They are just always all over the front of the glass. They're currently, I think, all hiding in the back corner because I'm sitting right here. But I was talking with my wife last night, and we kind of think of this as the skittish fish tank because the cories are like little spastastic little guys that are just, easily spooked by me being near the tank. And then the pork chop Rasporas, they're kind of like they feel like an awkward fish to me. Whenever I feed the tank, they all just get like one bite and then go hide from the food. It's kind of funny, but they're all doing well. And I mentioned in one of those tutorial videos, but I have seen some spawning behavior from them. So you never know, we might get some babies. And I asked in the last video for some recommendations of what we should add as a centerpiece fish, or if we should add one. So if you have any more ideas, let me know in the comments of this video as well as also that video. The one recommendation that we did have was a wild type betta. And that recommendation came from Bozes. So thank you, Bozes, for the recommendation. So far, I think we'll probably go with that one, unless you guys have more ideas. But yeah, I'd love to hear them, so leave them in the comments. And if we get enough ideas for a centerpiece fish, then I can put out like a poll, and we could all vote on it and see what you guys want to see in this tank for the centerpiece fish. But I'm really happy with this one. I love the spiderwood and the lava rocks and all of the epiphytes. I did thin out some of the floating plants because they were getting a little bit too crazy and I wanted it a little bit more light in this tank. Their roots also were just collecting a ton of debris because before I added any of the fish, this tank was without a filter for a few days and they kind of just sucked up all the debris and we're still holding on to it. So I thinned some of them out. I'm sure they're gonna grow back by no time. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this in-depth series, so I'm planning to do another one. And I'll touch on that a little bit later in the video when I get to sort of my future plans for the studio. So yeah, that's this tank. I think next I'm gonna show you my plant propagation tank. So this is my plant propagation tank. And I didn't do a video on setting this up or anything because it's pretty simple. I just had this leftover tank, threw down a kind of basic substrate layer with some aqua soil, a little bit of gravel and some sand. And then I've just been putting my plants in here that I'm not currently using to propagate, to continue growing them for future projects. And I'm also using it just as storage. You can see there's a bunch of pots of Anubias Nano Petites in there as well. And there are 2 fish. There are a couple of platinum Medacas in here. It's a little bit unfortunate. They're the only 2 left from the group of 11 that I started with. But I think that group was really inbred or something like that. And sometimes these things happen. Not all fish are going to work out for you. And for me, that's these Medacas. But I'm keeping these 2 little guys in here. They kind of just guard the tank, make sure my plants are safe. But I've also got this big Tupperware here full of moss and then a couple of these smaller pots of Elanthium tenellum. And these plants, along with this Anubias down here, is for a project that I'm actually going to be starting tomorrow. I'm setting up a 10-gallon long sort of bookshelf tank with my dad over at his house. So that's going to be really fun. It's going to be the first time I've set up a tank that's not for me, which is cool. And I hope to do more of that kind of stuff in the future. Just getting more people into the hobby is good. So really excited for that project. That one is in the works, but it'll probably be a month or so, maybe more, before that comes out. But anyway, that's this tank, just nice and simple. Let's move on to a tank you haven't seen yet. So this is another tank that I'm working on a video for currently. There used to be a shrimp tank in here. It used to be my little shrimp garden, which I really liked, but I released a video where I basically saved all of the shrimp out of here and moved them into another tank, which is now also broken down because of a mistake I made. But again, we'll get to that. But this is just a little jungle tank that will have shrimp in it eventually. It's been set up for, I think, a little bit less than a week at this point. So I'm gonna give it another few weeks to grow in and get all of that good biofilm growing. And then I'll add some shrimp. I think it's probably gonna be some blue or green shrimp in here. I haven't completely decided, but I did find a local shop that has a really good selection of shrimp. So I'll go to them and see what they've got when the time comes. But I did try something different with this tank. I'm using this UNS Contra Sand is the substrate. And at the moment, this tank is totally testing off the charts for TDS. Let me check right now. So I recently got this TDS meter here. Yeah, about the same as what it was. But we're at 766 for TDS. And to put it in perspective, you want like 150 to like 300-ish for shrimp. So I think I'm gonna do a little water change on it later today, but I think it has to do with the substrate. I mean, what else could it be? My TDS out of the tap is like 80, basically. So hopefully I didn't add too much of this substrate in, but I think doing a couple water changes on it, I think I've only done one maybe since I set it up. That will help bring the TDS down. And once I add the shrimp in here, they will also bring the TDS down by using the minerals, and the calcium primarily is what TDS measures. they'll use that calcium to molt and stuff. So I think, it's a little bit concerning now, but it could be good in the long run. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this one. There's some things I really like about it. I basically reused a bunch of old plants, and the umbrella hairgrass that you can see there came from the first tank I showed you, the shrimp cube on my desktop. So I'm hoping that the deeper substrate in the background and the aqua soil will help that umbrella hairgrass. And I think it's also going to be really good for this Areocolon Vietnam you can see here. But the only thing that I don't like about this tank is that there are some pretty significant glue marks kind of on the central piece here. So I think I'm going to get some sort of epiphyte to cover that, whether it be a piece of Anubias or something. I added a little bit of Java fern to the sides, but I don't know. I really like the layout and design of this tank, and it does feel like a fun little shrimp tank with lots of moss that'll grow in, lots of epiphytes, and then catappa leaf in the center, and all of this aqua soil, which I think will be beneficial for them. So this video is still a ways out. But it takes a little longer to make videos about shrimp tanks because you have to let the tank settle for like almost a month before you add shrimp. And it will take things a little bit longer to grow in for that kind of final reveal that I'm looking for in videos. But that's besides the point. You don't really care about that. You just want to see more tanks. So let's move on from this one. And yeah, we can talk about this one next. All right, so moving on, we've got the Nature Aquarium here. And I'm really happy with this tank. I really love it. I've done one major trim up on it so far, and the plants seem to be growing back really, really well. And if you guys haven't seen the video on this tank, you guys should totally check it out. I'll put a link. I'm really happy with that video. I think it's super, super good. So make sure that you give that a watch if you haven't already. But I did mention, unfortunately, we lost Marmalade, Marmalade was one of our two honey gouramis in here. And Marmalade and Clementine are the parents of the three babies that are in the Rainbow Riverbed tank. And that was really sad, and it was really sudden. It was very surprising. There was one cardinal and then Marmalade that died on the same day. And it was really weird because they were both super healthy beforehand, and I think I was able to figure out what happened. But I was using two different fertilizers, and one of them had like a decent copper concentration in it. And I'd been doing this for a while, but it was like the day after a water change when I added these two fertilizers that both of those fish passed away. And I did a little bit of research, and there is a little bit of more copper concentration in my water than where I lived previously. And so I think that they may have passed away from copper poisoning, believe it or not. I'm not completely sure, like I can't be sure, but that's like the only thing that I can think of because the parameters in the tank were absolutely perfect. None of the other fish were hurt, so maybe they were just like the two weakest ones, and there got to just be a little bit too much copper in their system. That's the only thing that I can think of. But to combat that, I'm using one, less fertilizer than I was before, but also I'm letting the tap run for like a minute or so before I fill up my buckets when I do water changes, just to make sure that I purge any water that's been sitting in copper pipes to reduce the amount of copper that could be introduced into the aquarium. So that's really sad. And I think that Clementine in here is pretty chill about it. Honey gouramis are totally fine being solitary fish. So, and it's hard to tell, if they're sad or anything, but I think I'm putting my own sadness kind of onto Clementine, who's kind of hiding around right here. I'm not sure if you can see him. But it does make me happy that their babies are thriving in the other tank, so the memory of Marmalade will live on. But overall, I am really happy with this tank. There's one other actually crazy thing about this tank. I doubt I'll be able to get it on camera, but there is a baby Cory in here. Just one singular baby Cory. And before I set up this tank and before I set up the rainbow riverbed that now has most of my Corys in it, I was keeping all of these Java ferns in a tank with the Corys and with all of the fish. So I think that the Corys laid eggs on the Java ferns here. And then when I set up this tank, filled it up, the eggs hatched. And we got a little baby Cory. So I've been trying to catch it out of here for a few weeks. Whenever I see it, I usually grab a net and try to go for it. But it's been just about impossible, honestly. This tank is just so densely planted at this point that it's going to be really hard to get that Cory, especially when it's small. When it's a little bit bigger, maybe I'll be able to get it and move it over to its family in the rainbow riverbed. But so yeah, that's this tank, and yeah, check out the video if you haven't seen it yet. Okay, so we've got one tank left, and it is the newest tank. I actually set it up yesterday, and it is right behind me. So let's take a look. Excuse the ZZ plant in the background that's kind of falling off into the corner. I turned it that way because I'm trying to get it to grow back in this direction. But that's besides the point here. So this is the newest tank in the studio. I actually set this up yesterday. And this was a long-running shrimp tank that I was really happy with. But I unfortunately made a massive mistake with it. And I added, so when I do water changes, I'll usually add fertilizer to the bucket that I'm doing water changes with, just to kind of save time and make it easier. And I'm going to stop doing that because I made the mistake of adding that water into this established colony just to top up the tank. I wasn't even doing a water change on the colony. I was just had extra water, so I figured I'd put it to use, and I forgot that I'd added fertilizer to the bucket. And that caused a huge die-off in the shrimp. So that was really unfortunate, but that's a mistake I made, and I have learned from that, and I'm not going to do that again, and I'm not going to do that practice again of adding fertilizer to the bucket on the off chance that I will contaminate a shrimp tank with it. So yeah, really sad, really unfortunate, because that was such a good long-running tank, and the shrimp had just started breeding in there. So, but unfortunately, things like this happen in the hobby. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes that have big ramifications like that. But I have learned, and I am moving on, and now we have a new setup in here, and I'm really, really happy with this one. I think it's much better than the Escape in the last tank. So I think it's really cool, and this is where I'm going to start the experiment of trying to grow Hydrocotyle tripartita in the foreground as a carpeting plant. So you can see all of the little sprigs on the foreground there. And I'm experimenting with a new sand in here. This is like a Congo sand from Landon, and it's really cool. It's like black and has kind of like flecks of like browny red in it. So really cool. But I've also got a bunch of Anubias in here, a bunch of Christmas moss. This plant I haven't tried before, it's Alternanthia. It's something along those lines. And then a bunch of Limnophilus essiflora in the background, which is another plant that I haven't used before. So I'm really happy with this scape. It's obviously going to be a while before I can release a full video on it, but here's a little bit of a sneak peek. Really happy with this scape, and it was a lot of fun to set up. It came together super quickly, but compared to the last tank that was in here, it is much more open, so I'm really happy about it. Okay guys, so that's all the tanks that I currently have running right now. All 6, 7, 8 of them. So it's fun to show you guys all that. I hope you enjoyed that little journey through all the tanks. But now I want to show you and tell you what the plans are for adding more tanks. So I am going to get some new stands in the future, but first, what my plan is these 2 nano tanks I'm going to move down here. So excuse the mess of cords and everything and packages, that sort of thing, but I've got all of this open space down here, and I've got this spare tank I'm gonna move those 2 nano tanks down here and then set up a third. Maybe in this tank, maybe not. I kind of want to keep this one empty for quarantine if I have to, but I'm gonna move those all down here and then free up 2 spaces on the shelf. So yeah, this tank and this tank will go down below there. And then I've already ordered 2 more cubes that are this size. So I'll have a cube here and a cube here. So I'll have 2 free, roughly 16-gallon cubes to scape. So I'm really excited about that because I really love these tanks, but I want the kind of gallery tank wall here to all be roughly the same height. So I'll need to find something to do with this tree. This is some sort of ficus, and also the ZZ plant. So I think it'd be cool to have them kind of up above, but I'm gonna figure that out as I go. I might be able to build some sort of plant shelving to raise up behind this and have more plants up above, which I think would be super cool. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. It might take some doing, but I could totally do it. But anyway, back to the tanks. So yeah, those 2 are gonna go down there. We'll have the 2 15-gallon cubes. One of them I'm gonna use for like a full build video, start to finish, 30 days later kind of thing. And then the other one I'm gonna use for another in-depth tutorial. And I'm really excited about it because I wanna get you guys involved as well. I have the idea of trying to do like a low-tech Iwagumi style scape. And that'd be very different. Like if I had it right here, it'd be a pretty big difference between these 2 tanks and just having like a rock scape with the rocks on show, carpeting plants. I think it'd be really cool. But when it comes to adding fish and that kind of thing, I want to get your guys' input. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can see when I start working on that. I think it might even be next week or the week after. I'll have to see how my schedule works out. But I'm super excited to try that. I hope you guys are as well. So yeah, I'm gonna need some help deciding the fish and that kind of thing as we go. So stay tuned for that. And then I haven't decided what the full build that will go here is gonna be yet, but I ordered some really cool wood. I have a lot of different substrates on hand to use for it, so I'm really excited about that too. And then in this back corner here, it's basically just like storage, empty boxes, bunch of buckets, and then this table here. But where the table is, I could totally put another stand and then kind of store things in this little gap behind it. And that would make things look really cool here. I would still have, plenty of storage space here. I think the stand would probably come to about here, so I could kind of get in behind to store things. I might have to move stuff around a little bit, but I want to get another big stand to add some more tanks to. And I've been thinking about an idea for a tank that I really want to try, that I wanted to do for a while, and that would be like a big planted angelfish tank, maybe like a 55-gallon or something like that. That's down the line, probably in a few months I'll start that, but I have it in the back of my mind and I'm really excited about it. So just wanted to share that with you guys as a possible future plan. But that's the video for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed going through my studio with me, looking at all the tanks, talking about how things are doing. And don't forget to let me know in the comments if you think we should add a centerpiece fish to the Epiphyte tank here. I really want to know what you guys think. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in the next one.